More than 150 members of Congress and 85 pro-life groups are calling on the Trump administration to stop funding abortion businesses like Planned Parenthood under the Title X family planning program. In separate letters sent to the Department of Health and Human Services, members of Congress and pro-life groups are requesting new rules for the Title X family planning program. Right now, Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, receives nearly $60 million a year from that program. Pro-life leaders say the Title X regulations need to direct funding to locations that do not perform or refer for abortions. And it's a call stretching beyond Capitol Hill. This past weekend, more than 5,000 pro-lifers rallied across 40 states at protest Planned Parenthood events with that same message. The Title X family planning program is Planned Parenthood's second largest funding stream. Our next guest is a leader on the Senate front and has written to HHS Secretary Alex Azar to change the Title X regulations. Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa joins us from Capitol Hill. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Glad to join you.
Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, receives $56 million a year from Title X funding alone. First off, what's your reaction to that?
Well, unfortunately, I do disagree with having taxpayer dollars going to the country's largest abortion services provider. So that's one of the reasons that I brought up the Title X Funding Congressional Review Act. It did pass. It passed through the Senate and the House and was signed into law by President Trump. And what that does is restore the right's ability to decide who should be those subgrantees for those Title X funds. They're not forced to provide those dollars to the nation's largest abortion services provider, which is Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood claims their Title X funding mostly helps the low income and people who can't afford care on their own. But Senator, can you speak to the important role community health centers can play instead?
Yes, community health centers are extremely important, especially in states like Iowa, where we have a very rural and a very economically challenged demographic. Those community health centers step up and they provide lots of services for families in need. They provide truly women's health services, which are things that Planned Parenthood doesn't necessarily provide. So we are glad to have those community health centers, and we would much rather see those dollars going to those particular centers.
As a powerful pro-life woman, Senator Ernst, how do you respond to the talking point that defunding Planned Parenthood is anti-woman?
Well, I always push back on that because there are so many avenues for women to receive quality health care. And again, we have talked about community health centers, but there are other means that women can receive health care. And what Planned Parenthood does is not necessarily provide health care services. So just one instance, they don't provide mammograms at Planned Parenthood, which is something that I would say is part of routine women's health care. So I do push back on that. I think there are many options available for women, and truly those that will step up and provide every service for women.
Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa, thank you for your time.
Thanks so much. It's good to join you.
We are going to continue to delve into this topic with our next guest in studio, a trusted pro-life expert. Marjorie Dannenfelser is president of the Susan B. Anthony List. Marjorie, thanks for being here.
I love here every day.
It's so good to see you. So first of all, this is the first time we've had Senator Ernst on the program. What do you make of her pro-life leadership and what she just had to tell us?
Well, I know her well. I love her. It's one of the few people that I can say she was an even better senator than she was a candidate.
We've been encouraging our viewers the past few weeks to encourage their Congress members to sign onto letters that Senator Ernst and Senator Roy Blunt and Congressman Ron Estes sent to HHS Secretary Alex Azar. Can you tell us more? What were these letters and what should our viewers know?
This is huge. On the heels of the failure to defund Planned Parenthood by just one vote in the Senate, and then really not being really able to get it through on a budget bill where we had to have a ton of votes. We have another pathway, and that is just through the administration. That is through some Title X regulations. Title X is the family planning program. It's getting abortion out of family planning, which of course we know that is not what that is. And these regulations were Reagan regulations. They could be re-upped now by Trump. Bush didn't do it. He took a pass. He could have done it. He didn't. So these letters are all about, I'll just say 41 senators. It is hard to get 5 senators to agree on anything. 41 senators and 155 members of Congress from the House have signed this letter asking President Trump to get those regulations back on the books. And what it would do would be to basically, the effect would be to end up defunding Planned Parenthood by about $50 or $60 million a year. It's the second biggest source of funding that Planned Parenthood has on the national level. So it's really important, really big, happening now. 85 pro-life organizations all around the country have done exactly the same thing in a similar letter to the president.
Everyone's really coming together
That's right.
for this. How hopeful are you the White House will take action?
I think it's a moment to pray. I think the White House in general is very for this. I think he in general is for this. But it is not happening, and we are not exactly sure why. But we think that now our voices have been gathered, and they're being presented in a very compelling way from all parts. It's so important for the Senate elections coming up in November that this happen. So I'm cautiously optimistic, not to overuse an overused term, but that is how I feel about it. Yeah.
We'll continue to monitor that. And now, before I let you go, this week, after 12 years as president of Planned Parenthood, it was Cecile Richards' last day. What will her legacy be?
I think of her, and I think, there but for the grace of God, I could have gone. I was very similar to her in my own leadership. You know, she's been a strong leader in the wrong direction. All these beautiful skills that she was blessed by God, and use them to undermine women, use them to abort much of America, much of our future. All these children that we needed, she was a part of running a business that it was their business to eliminate. She doesn't understand that. I know she doesn't, and yet that is the effect of her leadership. That is her legacy.
Let's continue to pray for her conversion.
That's right.
Absolutely. Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of the Susan B. Anthony List. Thank you.
Thank you.